So good morning. Well, I've never done this before, so here goes. Um, I gather you've read the scripture reading, and so the background to it is that Jesus is headed for Jerusalem, and in 2 weeks' time, he will be crucified, and then we'll move on to the Easter morning message. The disciples are arguing about who is the greatest in this kingdom that Jesus is going to set up. They obviously think it's still a power struggle. And they want to know who is the best, who is going to get the best seat of power. So, a couple of notes about this story. Firstly, the king in the story isn't God. A lot of us grew up with that God was the king, but actually, the portrayal that Jesus has of this king is more like King Herod, evil, greedy, wanting power, wanting control and manipulation. He was a very evil king. Very, very wicked. The second thing is that it's not about natural talents. This used to be a story about talents. You know, if you use the talents that God gives you, then God will reward you and everything will be well. If you don't use your talents, well, too bad for you, because you'll be thrown out or burnt or whatever. So Jesus tells a story about this king who gives 3 of his servants certain sums of money and tells them to do whatever they can with it. Well, the first 2 servants are all for this king. And so they take their money and they invest it, and they get a lot of interest back, which of course was not the thing that you're supposed to do if you're a Jew. You don't invest money to get money back from people, called usury. But these 2 guys, they do it, and they earn a lot of money, and the king comes back and he rewards them. The third guy turns up and says, hey, here's the deal. I'm not going to play your game. I'm not going to use the money you gave me to make more money for you, because this is not what life's all about. So it's a question of the way of the world against the way of this new kingdom that Jesus is inaugurating. Is it a kingdom of fear and greed and power? Or is it a kingdom of love and grace? Bigger question this morning, I think, as we come up to Easter, and maybe being in isolation, it's good that we have time to stop and reflect. Maybe the bigger question is, what is the driving engine in your life? Is it greed, power, violence, or is it unconditional love? Is it meritocracy? I will earn what I deserve. Or is it grace? I will give you what you don't deserve, but what you need, because that is the nature of the kingdom of God. Now, of course, this has to do with the coming crucifixion of Jesus. And by the way, I want to suggest that the third guy in the story, the one who has what he has taken away from him and ends up with nothing, Jesus is actually painting a picture of himself. He will go to Jerusalem. All that he has will be taken from him. He will be left with nothing. Even his friends will desert him. And he'll be put to death, because he doesn't play the game. You and I don't have to either. As I say, we can opt for control, manipulation, power. I will do this for you if you do that for me. That's meritocracy. or I will love you because you need to be loved. As we find ourselves in isolation, there are people around us who need to be loved, and they need us to reach out to them in love. Even if it's a phone call, even if it's an email, a text, or whatever. People need you, and you have the opportunity to make things different for them in their time of isolation. So the driving engine of your life, what is it? It will determine how you live out these next weeks or months, wherever we find ourselves. So peace and grace be with you, and the Lord bless you and keep you. And the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and grant you his peace. Amen.